Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 119. Without any delay, start explanation. Hostages screamed in terror, all of them shrinking against the walls of the fifth carriage as the two terrorists opened fire on Tang Wulin. Their soul gun spat beams that were too fast to dodge. His gauntlet couldn't protect his entire body, but Tang Wulin had walked into the carriage prepared. Blue-silver grass sprang up in front of him to form a shield. While soul guns were powerful, these weren't the heavy beam guns that the military used. They couldn't penetrate the shield of thousand-year blue-silver grass. Tang Wulin's blue-silver grass was able to withstand the onslaught of beam fire because he was strong. Like all students of Shrek Academy, he was courageous and possessed a martial soul of exceptional quality. In addition to that, he was capable of exerting an exquisite level of control over his martial soul. Only with such control was he able to bring out the full potential of his martial soul. Ever since he first took action in the fourth carriage, Tang Wulin hadn't so much as paused for even a moment. Everything was going according to plan. "Use the cannon," the terrorist leader shouted, and his subordinate moved to obey. But he didn't have the soul cannon. Not at that very moment. Before the carriages were detached, the train attendants had been doing their best to de-escalate the situation. Then, when the security captain entered the carriage, the terrorists were able to easily beat him into submission. From that point onward, the terrorists figured that any threat to their control over the situation had been dealt with, so they let down their guard. This particular terrorist hadn't seen any harm in setting the soul cannon aside for the time being. Of course, there was no way Tang Wulin would let him just pick it back up. A burst of golden light flooded the carriage. A long tail whipped forth to wrap around the cannon. The light faded to reveal Gold Song, and with a flick of its tail, it hurled the cannon at the terrorist. It struck him with a resounding crack, breaking bone and tearing muscle. "Don't come any closer," the terrorist leader shouted. He began backing away from Tang Wulin, dragging Mo Lan along in a chokehold. She quickly realized that the situation had changed and started struggling. The moment she did, the terrorist struck her with the butt of his gun, leaving a large gash on her forehead. The blow left her dazed. Blood trickled down her face. "Stop!" Tang Wulin shouted, taking a step forward. His soul rings flared with energy. "Take another step and I'll blow your big sister's brains out," the man said with a cold snort, bringing the gun back up and pressing the tip of its barrel to Mo Lan's head. 3 yellow soul rings rose up from beneath him to display their brilliance. The terrorist's heart, however, was filled with disbelief. This is insane. He never expected the teenage boy standing before him to be a 3-ring soul master, one even more powerful than he was. This brat has to be from some prestigious clan. He has 3 purple soul rings. The leader of the terrorists knew that a soul gun of this caliber would be useless against a soul elder. He might have been able to put up a fight if he had the soul cannon, but Tang Wulin had already seized it. In addition to that, his men had been decimated. Out of the original 9 terrorists, only he remained. A metallic groan reverberated through the carriage, and Mo Lan was the first to realize what caused it. She could immediately tell that the fifth carriage had begun decelerating. That meant it had been detached from the rest of the train. She knew exactly what would happen next. "Forget about me," she cried. "Save everyone else." "Amazing. You sure are something, brat," the terrorist exclaimed as he caught on. His expression hardened. His chokehold on Mo Lan tightened. He brandished the detonator. A hint of madness shone in his eyes as he realized that his last bargaining chip had disappeared. "All of you can just die with me then?" His thumb moved to trigger the detonator, but right at that moment, a flash of purple and gold blinded him. Pain seared his mind into oblivion, his thumb freezing mid-motion as his body went stiff. The terrorist leader was only a soul elder with 100-year soul rings. He had just entered the spirit connection realm and was weaker than Tang Wulin by over 100 points. Even if he did possess the higher cultivation level, he still wouldn't have been able to resist Tang Wulin's purple demon eyes. Just as the button was a hair's breadth from being pressed, the arm restraining Mo Lan went slack. She had been struggling as hard as she could to try and stop the terrorist. Now she wrenched the man's arm down, tearing the detonator from his grasp. The second she did, Tang Wulin shot forward like a bullet and seized the terrorist's neck in a vice-like grip. He snapped it without hesitation. The leader of the terrorists was never a threat to Tang Wulin. The combination of his Golden Dragon King bloodline, his blue-silver grass, and his one-word gauntlet elevated his power far beyond that of a four-ringed Soul Master. The terrorist hadn't even thought of facing Tang Wulin as a Soul Master. But all feared death, and Tang Wulin's heart had nearly jumped out of his chest when he saw the terrorist trying to detonate the bombs. He had only just managed to save everyone using his purple demon eyes. Now the final terrorist was dead, and none of the hostages died. "Watch out!" Mo Lan shouted. Dread gripped Tang Wulin. He could see a beam of light out of the corner of his eye, but it wasn't headed for him or Mo Lan. It shot toward a bomb. A 10th terrorist had been hiding among the hostages. He had used a beam pistol to shoot at the bomb, which had more than enough power to detonate it. This would then cause a chain reaction, trigger the rest of the bombs in the carriage, and take everyone to the afterlife with him. Only 2 people reacted in time. The first, Mo Lan, threw herself forward to block the beam with her body. The second was the trained security captain. After being beaten into submission by the terrorists, he spent the entire time nursing his wounds and biding his time. He knew he'd be able to do something eventually, and that time was now. He leaped toward the beam at the same time as Mo Lan, placing himself in front of it before she did. He wasn't as sturdy as Tang Wulin. He wouldn't survive this shot. But as it pierced his chest, he managed to absorb enough of the beam to change its trajectory. The beam continued through the security captain, slicing the air and through Mo Lan's shoulder before burying itself into the wall of the carriage, leaving a small hole mere inches from the bomb. Before Tang Wulin could even give a command, Gold Song rushed out with a swarm of blue-silver grass to capture the last terrorist. The surrounding hostages realized they were now free to move and quickly jumped away from the man. Meanwhile, Tang Wulin caught Mo Lan as she fell. No blood seeped from the wound that the beam left. Instead, a dark green liquid bubbled from it. The smell of burning flesh lingered in the air. Soul weapons possessed piercing capabilities and destructive power. A single shot killed nearly all victims. Fortunately, Mo Lan had only been wounded in the shoulder. She didn't feel any pain, only a scorching heat. Tears ran down her face. The security captain's corpse lay right in front of her. The beam had burned straight through his heart. "Li Feng!" Mo Lan cried. "Pull yourself together, big sis Mo Lan." Tang Wulin sent soul power into Mo Lan's body as exhaustion washed over him. Mo Lan was pale. An unbearable, numbing heat dominated her body. But as Tang Wulin's soul power coursed through her, a searing pain slowly began to radiate from her shoulder. "It's over, but I'm still too inexperienced. I didn't notice the terrorist hiding among the hostages. If those 2 hadn't jumped out, we'd all be dead." Tang Wulin could hear the boom of mechas rapidly approaching. Mo Lan and the captain, they saved everyone. It took around an hour to reach Heaven Do City. It was the first time Tang Wulin rode a mecha. Standard-issue military mechas were yellow-grade. They required a lot of skill to pilot and could be powered by both electricity and soul power. All the controls were manual and the mecha utilized spirit souls in a simple manner. The mechas stood at 12 meters tall. Their cockpits were large enough to fit 2 people and were quite snug, with the pilot's entire body firmly fastened inside. All movements by the pilot corresponded with how the mecha moved. The greatest mecha pilots could even maneuver their mecha as nimbly as a human, but this was very demanding on the pilot's skills and physical body. 12 yellow-grade mechas participated in the rescue operation. However, they had never expected the situation to already be resolved when they arrived. There were 10 terrorists. 8 were dead, while the rest severely injured. Not a single bomb had gone off. Despite that, there were over 100 civilian casualties. The third carriage was a scene of a bloody carnage where even the elderly and children could be found dead in pools of blood. Those terrorists had been absolutely ruthless. During the hijacking, the security captain had sacrificed himself, while Mo Lan was gravely injured in an attempt to save everyone. Tales of their fearless acts spread like wildfire throughout Heaven-Do City. As for Tang Wulin, his actions to save everyone instantly elevated him to hero status. Tang Wulin quietly slipped away from the train station when he overheard some staff members gossiping that the city officials wanted to award him with a Medal of Honor. He had no choice but to run. Time was still ticking on his exam. He could only imagine how long and tedious the award ceremony would be. In truth, Tang Wulin didn't feel proud of his achievements at all. The security captain still died, and Mo Lan was in a serious condition. It was the first time he encountered such sinister people. The terrorists were vile and regarded human life like it was grass. Tang Wulin left the station with a heavy heart. However, he soon realized that his pockets were much lighter than his heart. Mo Lan had given him 20,000 federal credits and had said she would get him a 1-month pass once they arrived in Heaven-Do City, but she was currently in critical care in the hospital. She was in no position to help him find an opponent in Heaven-Do City either. Tang Wulin gained nothing from staying. I really can't count on anything going according to plan. Tang Wulin lamented. What do I do now? I have to decide quickly. Tang Wulin quickly thought things over, before gritting his teeth and hailed a taxi to the local Blacksmith Association branch. If he spent frugally, he might survive the entire exam with just 20,000 credits. However, Tang Wulin's stomach posed a problem. 20,000 credits was only enough to sustain him for a day or two and nothing more. He couldn't bear the thought of starving himself. All Tang Wulin ate today was a box meal, which was nowhere near enough to fill him. Right after that, he had been thrown into a harrowing battle against the terrorists. His stomach was already growling. Damn it, Li Shi. Since you can team up with someone, you should have teamed up with me. Tang Wulin longingly thought of Shu Lishi's buns. I wouldn't starve if you were here. Shu Lishi's agility soup bun and bloodthirst bin buns boosted a soul master's strength by a large margin and were sought after by many. However, Tang Wulin loved Shu Lishi's recovery pork buns the most. Not only did the pork buns replenish his blood essence, they also filled his belly. Tang Wulin and the pork buns were a match made in heaven. I'll grab some food first, then I'll forge some metals and earn some money. I need to earn enough for the rest of the trip. After that, I'll ask the association to help me find a suitable opponent. This was the best plan Tang Wulin could come up with. Heaven-Do City wasn't as large as Shrek City, so it didn't take long before he arrived at the local Blacksmiths Association. After paying the expensive taxi bill, he got off and found a restaurant in the neighborhood. I've got to eat as much as possible, Tang Wulin thought as he walked into the restaurant. When he walked out, the restaurant was completely cleaned out of all its ingredients. Hushed murmurs followed his footsteps. That child is so pitiful. Did he starve to death in his past life? Tang Wulin had long since become accustomed to people talking about him. He rubbed his flat belly, his face full of satisfaction. Although the food wasn't the most nutritious, it was still decent. He had come and left like a storm. Now that his belly was full, he could concentrate on his work. Tang Wulin looked up at the large signboard that said Heaven-Do Blacksmiths Association, then walked in. In Heaven-Do Seoul train station, a tall and sharply dressed man stood there with a furious expression. What? He disappeared? How could you let this happen? You can't even look after one person. This man was Mo Wu. His mood couldn't be any worse right now. As the administrator of Heaven-Do City and one of the high-rank officials in the federal government, his words carried a lot of weight. When he received the news that his daughter had been taken hostage by terrorists who hijacked a train, his vision had gone black and he almost fainted. In his busy life, his only daughter was the apple of his eye. Just a few months earlier there had been terrorists attacking another train. This incident was extremely tragic. Hundreds of innocent citizens had died. At that time, he feared for his daughter's safety and asked her to resign, but she simply smiled and refused. He hadn't expected another attack so soon, and that it would involve his daughter this time as well. News on the situation slowly trickled in, but all of it was bad. Bombs were planted throughout the train, and the terrorists even had a soul cannon. The situation only got worse and worse. Then he learned that Mo Lan chose to trade herself for the other hostages before disconnecting the carriages, and he feared the worst. According to the military's analysis, the chances of successfully rescuing Mo Lan were slim. Even if they dispatched powerful soul masters and mechas, it would be difficult to rescue hostages in an enclosed space. If they had a soul master with certain abilities, the chances of success would be higher, but it was impossible to find someone like that on short notice. Just when all hope seemed lost, they were notified that the crisis was resolved. Mo Lan was gravely injured, but she would live, along with the rest of the hostages. He could hardly believe his ears when he found out that his daughter's savior was a young teen. Then he learned that this teen was from Shrek Academy. His doubts disappeared and he rushed to thank his daughter's savior. Yet when he arrived, Tang Wulin had already run off. He was about to order his subordinates to search for him when a person appeared in their midst. "Who are you?" They were currently in a secure room where civilians were forbidden from entering, so Mo Wu was stunned to see a stranger in the room. The stranger was a handsome young man, his expression stern and full of frost. Did Tang Wulin leave already? Mo Wu's heart raced. "Are you from Shrek Academy?" "Yes, I'm a teacher there," said Wu Zhongkong. Mo Wu relaxed and he let out a sigh of relief. No wonder he could sneak in. "He's from Shrek Academy. I'm looking for him too. He was resting here earlier, but then he disappeared." Wu Zhongkong furrowed his brow. He had specifically chosen to tail Tang Wulin. His disciple's growth could only be described as miraculous. Tang Wulin started with a trash martial soul, yet he surpassed all expectations and rose to become the class president of Shrek Academy's first grade. Such an achievement couldn't simply be attributed to hard work. Wisdom, talent, hard work, and perseverance were all required to bring about such a miracle. Out of all his disciples, Wu Zhongkong was proudest of Tang Wulin. This was why he had volunteered to follow Tang Wulin during the exam. He wanted to personally watch just how Tang Wulin would tackle each problem and his growth in the process. Tang Wulin had boarded the train so fast, Wu Zhongkong had missed it and was forced to take the next one. Halfway through the trip though, Wu Zhongkong's train was forced to a stop because the carriages detached from Tang Wulin's train blocked the tracks. Wu Zhongkong only managed to find out about the terrorist attack after the information blackout imposed by officials was lifted. He had asked around to understand the situation, then immediately rushed over here. "I'll take my leave then." Wu Zhongkong nodded curtly to Mo Wu, then turned to leave. Just as Wu Zhongkong took a step, he suddenly stopped and grabbed Mo Wu. "What are you doing?" Mo Wu shouted in anger, but was powerless to resist as he was an ordinary civilian. He found himself by Wu Zhongkong's side an instant later. "Come out!" Wu Zhongkong shouted. His eyes flashed as he looked at a corner of the room. Then a hoarse voice rang out. As expected of someone from Shrek Academy, a man emerged from the shadows. He was shrouded in a pitch-black cloak and held a scepter in his right hand. The instant Mo Wu laid eyes on this man, his back went cold with sweat. A sinister air gathered in the room. "I was looking for the kid who foiled our plans, but I never expected to run into an administrator and one of you loathsome Shrek people. I might as well kill you while I'm here and take the administrator with me." Soul rings rose from beneath the man. However, unlike the usual way soul rings would appear, his materialized in an eerie green mist. He had 6 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 2 black. The mist spread to surround him. A chill went down Wu Zhongkong's spine, and he pushed Mo Wu behind him. An evil soul master. Mo Wu didn't try to flee. As a government official, his willpower had to be strong. He also understood that the safest place he could be right now was beside this teacher from Shrek Academy. Running would be useless, and if Wu Zhongkong couldn't defeat this evil soul master, then his fate was sealed. "You may call me the Emissary of Pestilence." The man raised his scepter, his soul rings lighting up. Green mist poured out of it and began to fill the entire room. Wu Zhongkong snorted. A freezing aura exploded from him as soul rings appeared from beneath his feet. A total of 7 appeared, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black. The Skyfrost sword manifested in his hand and he slashed at the air, sending a sword beam straight for his opponent's stomach. The emissary trembled in shock at the sight of Wu Zhangkong's soul rings, but he didn't leave himself unprotected. He pointed his scepter forward. The green gem at the tip of the scepter shined as it met the sword beam. A crisp note could be heard as sword beam met scepter. The beam split into countless threads of ice. It was Frost Scar. After gaining his 7th soul ring and becoming a soul sage, Wu Zhongkong had grown far stronger than before. In the past half a year, apart from teaching, all he had done was cultivate. He had progressed by leaps and bounds. Wu Zhangkong's frigid aura slowed the Emissary of Pestilence's movements, and a storm of frost scars quickly enveloped him. Excellent, the Emissary of Pestilence howled. He dropped to one knee, and a green light exploded from his body. The light expanded like a gas, pushing back Wu Zhangkong's frigid aura. If Wu Zhongkong had been alone, he would have been able to just use his soul power to protect himself and charged in. However, Mo Wu was there. Mo Wu would die in an instant if he were exposed to the poison mist of a 6-ringed soul master. Wu Zhongkong had to protect him. Icy determination flashed in Wu Zhangkong's eyes. He burst into action, and kicked at a wall, breaking it down in one strike. He grabbed hold of Mo Wu, hoisted him in his left arm, and leaped into the air. With his free hand, he brandished the Skyfrost sword and used Frost Song, willing it to transform into an enormous sword. Mo Wu watched in awe as an enormous crescent of ice slashed through the room they were just in, cleaving it in two and sucking in all of the green mist. When the dust settled, the Emissary of Pestilence was nowhere to be seen. The only thing that remained was a tunnel leading to the unknown. "Don't move." An electronic voice cut through the air. Guards had been alerted by the commotion, and over a dozen mechas came flying over. Spotlights lit up and illuminated Wu Zhongkong as the mechas completed their encirclement. All of them locked onto him with their soul cannons. Wu Zhongkong released Frost Song and frowned. His encounter with the evil soul master weighed on his mind. Evil soul masters had begun to stir in recent years. It was clear that they were behind this recent act of terrorism as well. He had to report this matter to Shrek Academy as soon as possible. Since its very conception, Shrek Academy opposed evil soul masters. 10,000 years ago, the spirit Aistolur led his generation of the Shrek 7 monsters along with many other powerhouses to destroy the Holy Spirit cult. The cult was wiped out and no more trouble arose from them. Until the past few years at least. "Don't shoot!" Mo Wu shouted. "This man is a soul sage from Shrek Academy. He saved me." Wu Zhongkong awoke from his thoughts. He looked down at Mo Wu, who was dangling by his coat. With a flick of his wrist, Wu Zhongkong pulled him upright. Mo Wu quickly regained his stately appearance and ordered the mechas to stand down. Standard-issue military mechas wouldn't be able to touch a hair on a soul sage from Shrek Academy anyway. Mo Wu had no doubt that Wu Zhongkong was a battle armor master. Even if there were 10 times as many mechas present, he would still be able to obliterate them all. "Sun with rays. I can't accept any missions without my badge," Tang Wulin asked. "Knock it off, kid. You're holding up the line," the Blacksmiths Association clerk responded tersely. When a young boy came asking to take on some 4th-rank blacksmithing missions, the clerk had thought it was a joke. The boy didn't even have a badge. There was no way he could allow this boy to accept any missions. "Could I trouble you to look me up in the database then? I'm certain you'll find me in there. I'm a 5th-rank blacksmith. Please, I'm absolutely certain I'm in there." "Huh? 5th rank?" The clerk laughed. The people behind Tang Wulin laughed as well. Heavendoe Blacksmiths Association was the headquarters of the Blacksmiths Association, as well as the largest one on the continent. Countless blacksmiths were based in Heavendoe City and came to accept missions every day. All the clerks were busy from dusk until dawn. "Just how old are you, kid?" a gruff blacksmith asked as he moved to pat Tang Wulin's head. Tang Wulin evaded the man's hand. He was at a loss. He didn't realize how inconvenient things would be without his badge. He had already been pestering the clerk for 10 minutes now, and had been subject to the jeering of the surrounding blacksmiths. The man's insulting question incited Tang Wulin's childish nature. I'm 14. What about it? A 14-year-old, 5th-rank blacksmith, huh? You must be the #1 genius in the entire association. The man burst into laughter, and his fellow blacksmiths quickly joined in. Tang Wulin took a deep breath, then turned back to the clerk. What do I need to do to accept some missions? The clerk looked at him helplessly. Kid, I admire your passion, but you're causing a disturbance. Where are your parents? You're at the right age to start learning how to blacksmith, so come back when you've got your badge. Then you can accept some missions. Where can I take the blacksmith's exam? Tang Wulin was growing impatient. You want to take the exam? All right. Go to the 2nd floor to register for a slot. There are a lot of people today, though. At that moment, a ringing sound filled the hall, alerting everyone that an announcement was being made. Attention all blacksmiths! Attention all blacksmiths! The president will be holding a half-hour lecture in the hall of the 1st floor in 5 minutes. Please wait in orderly lines. Ah, the gruff blacksmith cried. The president? The man rushed off, and everyone else also began to realize what was happening. Regardless of whether they were accepting a mission or waiting in line, they all turned around and ran off. They were currently on the 3rd floor, but all were undoubtedly headed for the 1st. Even the clerk was gone. Tang Wulin hastened to catch up, and once he reached the clerk, he asked, Uncle, what's going on? Does the president lecture often? The clerk spoke as he ran. The president lectures at random times, and he only does so here in our Heaven-Do branch. A lot of blacksmiths come here every day and hang around hoping he'll hold a lecture. Attending a single one of the president's lectures is worth a year of blacksmithing by yourself. Is the association president here really that amazing? Tang Wulin could hardly believe it. He was certain that the president of any city's branch could only measure up to his teacher at best. The clerk stared at him. You foolish kid. Don't you love blacksmithing? This is an amazing opportunity for you. The president isn't just the president of this branch, but the Blacksmiths Association as a whole. He's also the continent's only divine blacksmith. He's a very busy person. If he takes the time out of his schedule to give a lecture, just think about how valuable that must be. You're really lucky. Just follow me to the hall, listen closely, and don't be noisy. A divine blacksmith. Tang Wulin's heart raced at the thought. His mind buzzed with excitement. Yeah. I can't believe I got so lucky. I came here to make money, but I get a lecture from a divine blacksmith instead? Awesome. I can't do anything about the duration of the exam, but I can't let this chance slip away. The hall of the 1st floor was already packed by the time Tang Wulin and the clerk arrived. At the center of the hall, a space 20 meters in diameter had been left empty. It was fully furnished with all the necessary equipment to forge. Everyone was bustling with excitement and expectation. The clerk could only manage to bring Tang Wulin to the edge of the crowd. Although Tang Wulin was tall, the blacksmiths in the crowd were all muscular giants. He couldn't see above the sea of heads at all. Tang Wulin ducked and squirmed his way through the crowd, slowly heading to the center. Kid, be careful. Don't squeeze in. You're going to get trampled, the clerk shouted after him, but he was already gone. Tang Wulin pushed on through. Despite how lean he was built, his frame hid monstrous strength. With that strength and controlling crane, capturing dragon, he quickly reached the center of the crowd and got a front row spot. Tang Wulin was surrounded on all sides with blacksmiths bursting with anticipation. No one even noticed a kid like him sneak to the front. 5 minutes soon passed, and the crowd split to allow a man walk through to the center. A retinue of staff surrounded the man, and everyone cheered when they saw him. President! President, they shouted zealously. The hall seemed to boil into a frenzy. Tang Wulin looked over to see a handsome man with black hair and black eyes. He looked to be in his 30s, but his eyes showed profound depths far beyond his years. His sideburns were completely white, a bright contrast with the rest of his black hair. But the most eye-catching thing about him were his hands. They were at least 50% larger than an ordinary man's, but instead of being bulky and rough, they were slender and fair. They looked like the hands of a young lady, but much larger. In fact, his hands sparkled like jade. This man was a divine blacksmith, the greatest blacksmith in the entire Blacksmiths Association, and a titled Doluo. He couldn't compare with Feng Wuyu in terms of combat strength, of course, but Shrek Blacksmiths Association had never concerned itself with the Continental Blacksmiths Association anyway. He's Zhenhua, the continent's only divine blacksmith. As a blacksmith himself, Tang Wulin had long since heard of Zhenhua. He was a legend among blacksmiths. Contrary to his youthful appearance, he was actually 45. He had become a divine blacksmith at the age of 37, and that had been 8 years ago. He was in his prime as a blacksmith, but even in his youth, he hadn't been arrogant. He was originally the president of a small town's blacksmiths association. From there, he advanced step by step until he became the president of all of the blacksmiths associations across the continent, and the continent's only divine blacksmith. He had wanted to forge a forward battle armor when he was a saint blacksmith, and with the help of some titled Duluos, and countless hours at the forge, he barely succeeded. However, the product could not be called true forward battle armor. It was at the pseudo-forward level at best. He only truly succeeded 8 years ago when he became this generation's divine blacksmith. After that, he began forging forward battle armors for titled Duluos. Being the sole divine blacksmith, he held an exceptionally influential position. Tang Wulin's eyes sparkled as he watched this legendary figure. He would be fortunate to learn even the tiniest thing from him. Hello, everyone. Zhenhua waved his arms at the crowd. Hundreds of voices overlapped in a deafening greeting. Hello, President. Zhenhua gestured for everyone to quiet down, and the hall immediately went silent. It was as if the sound had never occurred in the first place. Now this is true prestige. Zhenhua smiled. I don't have much time, so I'll begin immediately. I've been really busy lately, and it's been quite some time since my last lecture. Today, I'll explain some of my deeper understandings to all of you. I encourage you to go and test what you glean from my lecture on your own time. He walked over to the forging table as he spoke and placed his large hands on the table. This is a little trick for alloy forging I discovered not too long ago. As everyone knows, forging alloys is an important stage for us blacksmiths. You can start forging alloys at the 6th rank, and as you progress, you become able to forge alloys composed of more and more metals. Of course, the more metals added, the harder the forging process becomes. This trick I'm about to teach you, well, it's really a technique. This technique can lower the difficulty of forging alloys. It can be said that this technique is derived from melding or the way catalysts work. Different metals have different characteristics, and when two metals come together, there is always some sort of chemical reaction. For example, Zhenhua explained his thoughts in a clear and gentle voice, and everyone grew calm as they listened. They did their best to commit the details of this trick to memory. Tang Wulin grew more and more amazed as he listened. He had heard of a similar technique from Mu Chen, but since he hadn't reached the 6th rank yet and could only forge 2 metal alloys, he wasn't ready for it. Mu Chen hadn't explained the technique then, and now that Tang Wulin was hearing about it from Zhenhua, he felt as if everything was clicking into place. He had been practicing alloy forging for the past half year, so this lecture couldn't have come at a better time. His understanding of alloy forging deepened, and countless possibilities opened up to him. And so, by mixing this in, your workload will decrease, and the chances of your alloy being successfully forged will increase significantly. Zhenhua smiled as he concluded his lecture. Amazing, a young voice applauded. Until this point, the audience had been watching with quiet reverence. So, when this voice suddenly obliterated the silence, everyone turned to look at its owner. In reality, most blacksmiths didn't really understand the underlying concepts behind alloy forging. Blacksmiths of the 6th rank and above were rare after all. However, such knowledge would still be helpful for any blacksmith's future growth. In fact, many made a pilgrimage to Heaven Do City just to listen to the divine blacksmith's lectures. Therefore, it was blasphemy for someone to cheer so loudly. When everyone saw the owner of the voice, they were dumbstruck. It was a kid still in his teens. Zhenhua was astonished by the excitement shining in Tang Wulin's large, bright eyes. He gave him a warm smile. Did you understand my lecture? MN. Tang Wulin nodded. He was currently absorbed in his thoughts, pondering the concepts he just learned. His mind in a world of its own, just like when he forged. He didn't notice the peculiar gazes of his peers at all. What a heroic child. Zhenhua chuckled. Excellent. It looks like the future of our Blacksmiths Association will be a bright one indeed. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.